You ever notice how some people, they only clap when they're the ones on stage? Some people don't want to see you change. Not really. Not for the better. They liked you better when you were smaller, easier, more manageable. They loved you when you were unsure, when you second-guessed yourself, when you apologized for shining too brightly. But the moment you change, really change, the moment you stop explaining yourself, stop tolerating disrespect, stop chasing people who were never running toward you in the first place. Oh, they feel it. And you better believe they notice. See, a narcissist doesn't love you. They love your reflection of them. They love the power, the control, the performance. And when the curtain falls, when the show ends, when you walk off that stage and stop playing the role they cast for you, that's when the real performance begins. They don't say it, but they feel it. Deep, the shift. You know what I'm talking about. That moment when they look in your eyes and something is different. The silence in your spirit now has power. The pause in your speech now has purpose. You ain't reacting. You ain't defending. You're just watching and walking. They'll say you've changed, but they don't mean it as a compliment. No, they say it like it's a betrayal, like growth is treason. Because to a narcissist, your change means they lost control. And that's their greatest fear. See, when you were broken, they had a seat at your table. When you didn't love yourself, their voice was the loudest in your ear. But the moment you looked in the mirror and said, "I'm enough," something shattered in them. Because they didn't build you to stand on your own. They built you to lean. And when you stopped leaning, oh, that's the moment everything changed. Let me tell you something. When you get tired enough, when the hurt cuts deep enough, when the same cycle hits you one too many times, you stop playing polite. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop asking for permission to be free. You don't announce your change. You don't post about it. You don't send out a press release. You become it. And the people who used to pull your strings, they stand there stunned. Because the puppet don't dance anymore. You walk in the room, and your silence is louder than your old explanations ever were. You don't have to yell. You don't have to curse. You don't have to fight. You just have to be. Be still. Be solid. Be true to the person you fought to become. And they feel it. They try the old tricks, the guilt, the gaslighting, the fake apologies. But now you see through it. Now you don't need closure, because you've already closed the door from the inside. You ain't bitter. You're just done. You're not angry. You're aware. You're not running. You're rising. And that's what a narcissist can't stand. Because now, they have no access, no power, no audience. You took back the microphone. You walked off the stage, and they're still standing there, confused, waiting for the show to go on. But it's over. You ain't the same. You're not explaining why you left. You're not defending why you healed. You're not dimming your light to make someone else comfortable in their darkness. No, you're growing, and growth requires separation. It requires solitude. It requires pain, but it also gives birth to power. Quiet, steady, undeniable power. And the moment a narcissist sees that you've changed for good, that this isn't a phase, that this isn't rebellion, that this is rebirth, they panic, because now they have to meet themselves. No more scapegoat. No more distraction, no more soul to drain, just them. And that's the one person they've been avoiding all their life. You walked away, not because you hated them, but because you loved you. And loving yourself in front of a narcissist is the loudest protest you'll ever make. You become your own peace, your own validation, your own home. Let them talk. Let them twist the story. Let them say what they need to say to survive the story they created. Because the truth walks with you. It speaks without words. It breathes in how you carry yourself. You ain't angry. You're just unavailable. To the drama, to the manipulation, to the lies. You don't fight the old anymore. You build the new. You've changed. For real this time. Not because they asked. Not because you wanted to prove a point. But because your soul demanded more. More than their apologies. More than their potential. More than their promises. You wanted peace. So you chose it. And now they watch from the sidelines of a life they can't control anymore. And the moment they see you smile without their permission, that's the moment they know they lost you forever. And the moment they see you smile, really smile, not that polite, surface level grin, but the kind that rises from a soul that's no longer in chains, they flinch. It shakes something in them, because they know that smile doesn't include them anymore. It used to be. Every laugh you gave had a thread tied to their mood. Every good day you had, they found a way to bring it back to them. But now, you laugh freely, you walk freely, you breathe freely, and freedom is something they can't counterfeit, no matter how hard they try. They call it selfishness. They say you've changed. They try to shame what they can no longer control. But deep down they know. They know you woke up. And once a person wakes up to their own power, to their own light, there's no going back to sleep. You stopped arguing, not because you lost, but because you realized it's not your job to prove reality to someone addicted to illusion. You're not going back to small. You're not shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone. You're not watering yourself down just so they can feel tall. You built this new version of you from the ashes. You crawled through the fire. You broke cycles. You faced your own demons. And now that you're standing on solid ground, the same people who once played God in your life can't even get your attention. They try kindness now. Sweet words, flashbacks. Remember when? Yeah, you remember. You remember every apology followed by the same behavior. You remember the chaos disguised as care. You remember how you were made to feel like your needs were too much. Your boundaries were an attack. Your love was something they could ration like crumbs. Not anymore. You ain't looking back. You're not replying to the bait. You don't need closure because you found peace. And peace don't need explanations. You stopped playing judge and jury in a courtroom that only existed in their mind. You laid down your armor. You picked up your worth. You started walking with purpose, with clarity. And when you walk like that, when you walk with knowing, there's no room for confusion. They throw shade now, but shade don't touch a tree, rooted in truth. You've seen their patterns, and now you see through them. That's what makes the silence loud. That's what makes the distance sacred. You don't flinch when they reach out. You don't jump when they disappear. You're no longer dancing to the rhythm of their inconsistency. You've got your own beat now, your own life, your own fire. They say you're not who you used to be, and you smile, because finally that's true. You used to stay quiet to keep the peace. Now you speak truth to protect your peace. You used to shrink to make room for their ego. Now you expand and let the insecure fall away. You don't pray for them to come back. You pray for the strength to keep walking. You pray for the wisdom to protect what you've built. You pray not from brokenness, but from gratitude. Because every wound taught you, every betrayal grew you, every silence healed you. You don't need them to understand anymore. That need, gone. That aching, healed. That story, finished. Because you're not trying to convince anyone of your worth. You know it now. And that knowing, it scares them. It exposes them. Because you were the mirror. And now the mirror walks away. They look confused. They say you used to need me. But what you needed was love, respect, honesty. Not manipulation wrapped in charm. Not validation at the cost of your peace. And now they watch. Watch as you build, as you glow, as you move, as you thrive. But you don't stop. You don't wave. You don't explain. You just keep going. Because once your eyes open, once your soul returns home, once you finally see yourself clearly, ain't no narcissist in this world who can hold a candle to that fire. And they know it. And they know it's over. Not because you said it, but because your energy says it before your mouth ever opens. You walk into a room now, and you don't scan for approval. You don't reach for affirmation. You bring the power with you. That quiet confidence, that settled spirit. It's louder than any scream. And they feel it like an earthquake beneath their lies. Now they play humble. Now they talk soft. Now they want to reminisce, to act like it was never that bad. It wasn't what you think, they'll say. You misunderstood, but you didn't misunderstand. You finally understood. That's what changed everything. You saw the pattern. You saw the mask. You saw how every act of love was really just another hook in the net. So now when they send that text, when they show up with that same crooked smile, you don't even flinch. You don't get angry. You don't feel sad. You feel nothing. And that nothing, that's the freedom they fear most. Because as long as they could pull an emotion from you, anger, guilt, hope, they had a thread. But now that thread is cut, severed, gone. They used to feed off your confusion, twist your words, make you doubt yourself. But clarity is power. And you've got it now. You know what happened. You know who they are. And more importantly, you know who you are. And that's a knowledge they can't take, can't touch, can't unteach. You look in the mirror now, and there's no more pleading in your eyes. No more desperation. No more trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You see strength. You see survival. You see someone who came through a storm and didn't lose their soul in it. So when they say you're cold now, what they really mean is, I can't manipulate you anymore. When they say you've got walls up, what they mean is, I can't walk into your life like I own it. And when they say you've changed, what they mean is, you woke up, and now I don't. You stop explaining your absence. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop feeling bad for putting yourself first. You start doing the one thing they always feared, living. Because your healing isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. And when you finally taste that freedom, when you feel it in your chest, when you walk with that unshakable calm, there's no going back. You start attracting peace instead of drama. You start choosing solitude over noise. You stop entertaining half love, almost love, manipulative love. You want real. You want honest. You want healthy. And that's something a narcissist could never give. So they stand on the sidelines, watching, waiting, hoping maybe you'll slip. Maybe you'll get lost. Maybe you'll get lonely. Maybe you'll miss the chaos. But you don't, because what you miss is yourself. And now you found yourself. And every day you stay gone. Every day you stay silent. Every day you stay healed. That's the loudest message you could ever send. And the beautiful thing is, you're not sending it for them. You're just living it for you. You're just living it for you. Now, not to prove anything. Not to make anyone regret what they did. Not to show them what they lost. But because you finally understand what you deserve. You finally know that love isn't supposed to hurt like that. That it's not supposed to feel like walking on glass. It's not supposed to drain you, confuse you, or leave you questioning your own sanity. You've reclaimed your time, your mind, your space. And there's a silence around you now. Not an empty silence, but a sacred one. A silence where healing echoes. A silence where you're no longer scrambling to fix someone else's brokenness. A silence where your own voice, once buried under guilt and gaslight, rises again like thunder. You stopped asking why. Why they did it. Why they couldn't love you right. Why they changed on you. You let those questions burn out. You watch them turn to ash. Because the truth is, some answers don't bring peace. They only reopen wounds. And you've learned how to close the door without needing to hear it slam. They can't reach you anymore. Not really. Oh, they might try. A like here. A message there. A casual. Just checking on you. But you read between the lines now. You see the game before it's played. You've built too much within yourself to gamble it on someone who couldn't even hold your honesty without turning it into a weapon. Your absence is your boundary. Your silence is your shield. Your peace is your power. And they feel that from afar. They feel it in the distance you've created, in the indifference you now carry. Because when you've truly healed, you don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't even need a conversation. You just keep living. Better, brighter, bolder. You invest in your growth. You choose your own. You protect your own energy. You don't look back, not out of bitterness, but because what's behind you has no part in the future. And that future, it's rich, not just in success, but in peace, in alignment, in purpose. You wake up now with clarity, instead of chaos. You make decisions without second guessing yourself. You trust your intuition, the same voice they tried to make you question. You know what red flags look like now, not just in others but in yourself. You've confronted your own patterns. You've healed your own wounds. You've stopped bleeding on people who didn't cut you. And that kind of self-work, that's what separates the broken from the reborn. They can't stand to see it. They'll say you're cold, you're heartless, you've changed. But you know the truth. You're just no longer available for dysfunction. You're no longer giving unlimited chances to someone who saw your heart as a playground. You're not explaining, justifying, or compromising with confusion. You're not mad. You're not resentful. You're just done with begging to be understood. Done with waiting to be loved right. Done with sacrificing your soul for temporary attention. And that stillness in you now, that peace, that unshakable calm, that's what scares them the most. Because it means they don't live rent-free in your mind anymore. It means they no longer have access to the version of you who tolerated the intolerable. Now you move different. You speak different. You love different. And not just others, but yourself. You're not chasing anymore. You're not explaining your work. You're not auditioning for love. You're just being authentic. You're just being authentically, unapologetically, powerfully you. And that version of you, that's what they never saw coming. That version of you walks with purpose, not to be seen, but because the road ahead is finally yours. Not borrowed, not broken,
not based on someone else's conditions. You're not bending anymore. You're not shrinking yourself to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You're done wearing masks, done dimming your light, done living under emotional blackmail just to keep someone close who never knew how to hold you. Now when you speak, there's weight in your words, not because you're louder, but because you're rooted. You don't react, you respond. You don't seek closure, you create it. You don't ask for permission, you give yourself the green light. That's real growth, that's real change, and that's what they never expected from you. See, narcissists feed off predictability. They count on you falling back into old cycles, picking up the phone when they call, answering that message at 2 a.m., cracking the door just wide enough for them to slide in. But you broke the pattern. You shattered it. You stopped being the predictable one. You stopped being the forgiving one. You stopped being the one who could be guilted into staying. They're not used to that. They're not used to silence. They're not used to strength without a show. They're not used to watching someone they used to control. Now walk away with grace, with peace, with nothing left to prove. You see it clearly now. You see how every apology was bait, every compliment was currency, every promise was a placeholder. But what they didn't know was that the day you woke up, the day your spirit got tired, not tired in a weak way, but in was the day you became unstoppable, because you're no longer moving from pain. You're moving from power. You're no longer reacting to them. You're responding to life. You're showing up for yourself in a way they never could. And there's no greater than that. Not a clapback, not a breakdown, but a breakthrough. And no, your presence speaks, not loud, but real. You walk into spaces with discernment. You don't chase connections. You allow them. You don't argue with disrespect. You dismiss it. You don't dance with chaos. You choose peace and let the storm pass with it. You've outgrown the games, the manipulation, the cycles. You've stopped playing small just to keep someone comfortable in their own insecurity. You don't shrink anymore. You rise. You rise in your truth, your clarity, your wholeness. And what makes it even more powerful, you did it quietly, no announcement, no need for show. You just changed, slowly, intentionally, deeply, until one day, they looked at you and couldn't find the version of you that once controlled. And that right there, that's when it hits them. You're gone, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally. They no longer live in your heart. They no longer influence your steps. They no longer own a seat at the table you built from your healing. And they'll try to come back, but they're not looking for you. They're looking for access. They're looking for the echo of who you used to be. But that echo's gone. That door is closed. That chapter is sealed. And you're already on the next page. You're already living in a future you'll never get to witness. Not because not because they never earned the right to walk with you in your healing. They were present in your pain. Sure, present in your confusion. Present when they could bend your love like wire and see how far it would stretch. But now that love fortified, now that love has back, love is. Now that love knows better, and that means they don't qualify anymore. You don't owe them a reintroduction. You don't owe them a second chance. You don't owe them the fruits of the garden you watered in the dark, because when you were crying, they were watching. When you were doubting yourself, they were feeding it. When you were begging for clarity, they were distorting it. But now you see them for what they are. Not a mystery, not a puzzle to solve, not a soul to save, just a lesson, a hard, costly, necessary lesson. And you took that they could paint and turned it into purpose. You took that heartbreak and turned it into armor. You took that manipulation and built discernment, so sharp, it cuts through the smoothest lies with ease. That's why they shake them, because they don't just see the glow, they feel the disconnect, they feel the gap that can't be crossed anymore. The space where your old self used to be, that's now occupied by strength, quiet, unbothered, unwavering strength. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's that you don't need what they once offered. You're not starving for validation anymore. You're not empty for attention. You're not vulnerable to breadcrumbs. You're nourished, whole, enough. That look in your eyes, that peace in your voice, that's what they can't stand. Because you've become untouchable. Not arrogant, not cold, just whole. And a narcissist can't survive in that climate. They can't breathe in truth. They can't They can't hide behind charm. When you're you're clay. They can't twist your words when you no longer need the conversation. They can't guilt you when your conscience is clean. They can't love bomb you when your love for yourself is louder. You've become everything. They said you'd never be without them, and more. They told you you'd fall apart. They said you'd come running back. You walked forward. They said no one would ever love you like they did. And now, we know that's exactly the point. You don't miss the kick. You appreciate the calm. You long for their return. You protect your space. You don't revisit the past. You build your future. And with every step you take in this new skin, they feel it. Whether they show it or not, they feel it. Because nothing haunts a narcissist more than your peace. Nothing confuses them more than your indifference. Nothing shakes them more than you're not waiting, not watching, not hurting anymore. You've moved on, but not just on the surface, deeply, internally, finally. And that's the moment that they realize the old you is gone forever. So now, stand tall and not change. Own it.